create more momentum in your business by going over your body, like prioritizing your body, prioritizing your health, but also how prioritizing those things will actually help your business. So some things that I've heard are, oh, I'm working in my day job and in the evening, like there's so little energy I have left to put it into my business. And I've heard that from a few people, and I know from myself how that feels if you're working all day. So the question is really, how can we increase our energy so that maybe we can do both? Maybe it's time to let a certain job go. I mean, that's a very personal decision. But what I'm really trying to offer here is a way to increase your energy and to reprioritize what you're doing so that you have more energy that you can invest in your business. So for that to really make sense, I want to spend a few moments refocusing you on what is actually your goal. So what is your goal in terms of your business? Like there is a reason that you're coming to this webinar now, that you're listening to me speak about this. So what is driving you? What is the force behind that made you show up, that made you come here and invest your time and your energy? And what is the goal that is in your mind? Making that clear. What do you want? And also, why do you want it? And if you haven't written that down, it's really good when you can write that down, because that just solidifies that. And I will give you a few moments just to do that, just to maybe take out a piece of paper and just write down specifically what is your goal with your business. And that can be a bigger goal, like in 6 months. That can be an even bigger goal, like a 1-year goal, or you can make it smaller. You can say, no, I want to make this a 3-month goal, for example. But just get specific and write that down for you, because that will lay the context for what we're going to do here. And you choose the time frame, whatever fits the best for you. You choose one where you feel like this is what I want to commit to. And maybe it's even a bigger vision. Maybe it's not a smaller goal that you can put to a certain time frame, but maybe that's a bigger vision where you're like, no, this is not a time-bound goal for me. I feel it helps to make it time-bound, but it's really your decision. But getting clear on what you want to focus your energy on, and then everything we're going to do here is going to be in the context of that goal. So we're going to talk about nutrition, we're going to talk about exercise, but it's really about how can this serve your goal and what you want to achieve. So I encourage you to take a moment and just write that down. Just formulate your goal, what you want to achieve, and try to be as clear as possible with that. And this will also impact how you listen and how you pay attention to this information, because it will make it relevant. It's not just me talking about exercise and this hypothetical thing, but it's actually how can you use this information to serve your goal. So write down your goal regarding your business, where you want to be, what is your vision, what motivates you to come here. And maybe if it's difficult for you to come up with what you want, you can also start by writing down what you don't want. You can say, I no longer want to drive to the office every day. I no longer want to feel exhausted in the evenings. And so by contrast, by writing down what you actually don't want, it will make it easier for you to find out what you actually do want, which is going to be the opposite of what you don't want. So if you feel you're lacking clarity on what you want, it might be helpful to write down what you don't want to get started. So I'll give you another 30 seconds just to make it succinct, like a quick snapshot of your goal, and then we'll move on. All right, so I invite you to slowly come to an end. I mean, you can continue writing as well as I go on. It's really your choice. So, but now that you've written that down, I would like you to actually look at that and see if you can connect emotionally with what you've written down. So, and the reason I'm doing this is because sometimes we know certain things, but we haven't connected with them emotionally. And when we don't connect with it emotionally, it doesn't affect us so much. So if you look at your goal and if you can actually write down some reasons of why you really want this, that will strengthen it for you. So feel free to write down a few reasons maybe that drive you to achieve that goal. Maybe that's connected to the things you don't want. Maybe that's connected to things that you do want. Maybe that's some specifics. Maybe it's about who you are as a person and why that really matters to you. Because in the end, what moves us is the emotion, not so much the logical information. And to connect with the emotion, it's good to take some time, like we are doing right now, and to verbalize our goal, write it down, and then to feel into what comes up for you. So now that you have that in front of you, this goal that is hopefully getting clearer and clearer for you, and that will get and have more clarity the more time you give it and the more space you give it in your life as well. I want to go to the next question. So the first question I wrote down was, what's your goal, right? That's important because it sets the context. And now we're going to, what do we need to do to actually move to that goal? And often that involves doing things like reaching out to people, researching, or selling what we want to do, or maybe learning new skills. And all of these things, they need energy from you. So if your energy is already going into your main job and there is energy going to your family, it can feel like, oh, where do I take the energy for my business, right? So that's why we come to the main content of what we're talking about, and that is what affects your energy. So how can you actually increase your energy, and what are the levers that we can pull to increase our energy? And the biggest three, in my opinion, are sleep, which is extremely underrated. And with sleep, I don't just mean the amount of sleep that we have, which is, that's great if you can have a good amount of sleep, but also the quality of our sleep. And I mean, there's all sorts of things where you can track your sleep. I like to track my sleep with an Aura ring, which is like this little ring that has like sensors in there, and you can track your sleep with that. And I mean, that's the way you can track your sleep quality. And some people, they are for that, it's not for them. It freaks them out when their sleep gets measured. But finding some way and some variables or some markers that you can check for, like hours in bed is a great one, but also how do you feel in the morning? And becoming aware of where your sleep quality actually is and where you'd like it to be. So the three biggest ones are sleep, your nutrition, and movement. And the fun thing about all three of them is that we can begin to make small changes to improve each of them, even in your current situation, even if you are working a lot, even if you don't have so much time to do that. I'm not asking you for a huge commitment to make some drastic, extreme changes. I mean, if you feel that's necessary, I won't say don't do it. If you feel that's the next step, that's amazing. But what I'm saying is you can make small tweaks and small changes. And once you start to make them, you will see that, oh, I'm having more energy. And that encourages you to keep going and to keep fine-tuning those. So what I'd like to do, and I'd like to be a little practical in this webinar, because we can consume information all day, but if we don't apply it, then not a lot is going to change and improve. So I would really love to invite you to look at those three together now in that time that we have, and just take a moment and look at your sleep and see what comes up even when I say the word sleep. Maybe that triggers some emotion for you. Maybe there's some challenges with your sleep, or maybe your sleep is really great and you're like, no, sleep is absolutely no issue for me. Well, then celebrate that. If your sleep is great, if you're really on point with your sleep, celebrate that. But even if your sleep is not so good, and if you feel that is an area you want to improve in, there is always something you can celebrate. Because the thing about changing your behavior is that your behavior changes faster when you focus on the positive reinforcement. Like when you look at your life and you look at your sleep in the context of, okay, how can you improve your sleep as a means of increasing your energy, which will help you to show up in your business with more energy, with more zest, and get better results there. And I mean, that's going to affect all areas of your life. That's not just going to affect your business. But looking at your sleep, when you look at your sleep, what comes up that you can celebrate? So that's a process that I really like to do with my clients, is a 1, 2, 3 review process. And the first step is always to look at what's going great already, because that is a wonderful starting point for any review. Not to go into the negatives, be like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, that's really bad. No, first step is you look at what is actually going great and what can you celebrate. And that puts you in a great state of mind to do further reflection. So feel free to write down a few things that are great about your sleep, that you do feel really happy about, and then let's build on those. So give you just a few seconds to write that down. And in the second step, I'd ask you to think about what is a small thing that you could improve about your sleep, like what needs work. If you look at your sleep and improving your sleep, the quality of your sleep, what's a small thing that you could do to improve it? I can give you some suggestions, like a big influence might be stimulating activities in the evening, working late until the evening. And I mean, that is one thing that you need to experiment with, because if you feel like you don't have enough time during the day to work on your business and you need to do it in the evening, so then the question becomes, how does that impact your quality of sleep? And how does the quality of sleep impact your performance during your day and also during your evenings when you work on the business? And if that is actually helping you to create more output, or if it's just more hours of work, but you're actually so tired in the evening because your sleep isn't on point. I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm just putting that idea out of you starting to assess your relationship to that. So how is your relationship to devices in the evening? How is your relationship to working in the evening? Just writing down, is there something that you feel needs work, that you want to improve? And just choosing one thing, one really simple thing that you'd like to work on. And then in the third step, how can you actually make that happen in a very simple way? It doesn't have to be a huge change. If you're used to watching TV until 11, maybe you don't want to skip the TV altogether and throw the TV out of your house, but maybe you just want to do half an hour, go to bed half an hour earlier, turn the TV off half an hour earlier, sit down with a book, maybe something in the direction of this, maybe even 10 minutes. Because if you can make a small change, then you can stack those small changes to bigger changes. And if that small change is in the direction that you want to move into, which is more energy, which is building your business, every step counts, even if it's a very small step. And that's worth celebrating. So write down specifically how, and in a tiny way, I invite you to make a tiny step. How can you make a shift there with your sleep? And when are you going to do that? If you feel inspired to commit. So next, we're going to look at nutrition. So, I mean, there's a lot of nutrition philosophies, and I'm not going to put any nutrition philosophy in your direction because that's not my role to do that. But what I will say is there is a quality of food, like the quality of the food we can buy, and there is also just the awareness of certain things that is just common sense, that it's not, maybe not the healthiest. That might be like over consuming sugars or certain refined products. So I would just encourage you with what you know already, not going into nutrition here, but with what you have learned already, with what you know, with what is your current understanding, looking at your nutrition. But starting again at the first step, and that is what are you really proud of? What is really going great in terms of your nutrition? So what are some small wins that you can celebrate where you're like, hey, I'm really showing up here for myself. I'm really nourishing myself properly, supporting myself, where you feel like, oh, these food choices or this food choice has been really supportive to myself. And taking the time to notice that and that space to be like, hey, I took a step here and I did something that's good for me. And seeing that on paper or wherever you're making your notes. And also allowing yourself that to sit with the victory, even if it's a small victory, just to soak in that. Because James Clear, he talks a lot about this, and he's an author that writes about habits from Atomic Habits. He says every choice that we make is a vote for the person that we want to become. So each time you make a vote, each time you make a small act that is in alignment with who you want to become, that's worth a lot. That might seem like a really small thing, but it's actually worth a lot. So that's also why looking at it and being like, hey, I did that is so valuable, because you're reinforcing that. When you look at the positive actions you're taking, you're reinforcing the positive actions you're taking. And then in the second step, like I said, with your current knowledge, your current beliefs, looking at your nutrition. What needs work in the nutrition department? Where do you feel you could be eating less of a certain food or more of another food, or maybe you could cook more, invest more time in home cooked meals, or whatever it is for you that you would like to improve, and just writing that down. Writing down something that you could improve, some specific area of your nutrition that you like to improve. And then also in the third step, connected with that, how specifically could you implement that so that it actually fits into your life? And again, reminding you, it doesn't have to be a huge shift, a huge change, even if you can make a tiny change, a small change, but a change that actually happens, that translates from the paper or from where you're taking your notes into your life. That's much more valuable than a huge idea that is just on paper. So how could you implement that into your life? One small thing that you can do to improve your energy or improve your nutrition in service of your energy, in service of your business, and also of your relationships and your other areas of your life, your health. But focusing here on the business side, how could you improve your nutrition to serve your energy so that you can put that energy towards your business and achieving your goals? And once you have that, we're going to move on to the movement part, to exercise. So first off, something quick about exercise is that there is exercise and there is movement. So we think of exercise often as we go to the gym, we go ride the bike, we do a workout, we do yoga, or maybe some body weight exercises, we go running, we go swimming. But the area of movement is even bigger than the area of exercise. So movement would be anything where you move your body to do something, like getting up and meeting a friend, or when you're getting to the shops, you don't drive there, but you walk there, and finding ways so that you can do movement, which isn't necessarily perceived as exercise, into your day where you have to do something anyways, but you can use your body instead of using an elevator. Like you can use your feet instead of using the elevator. You can use your feet instead of using the car, for example. So, and there is a concept that is called opportunities to move. And I really like this concept because a lot of the time when we're really busy, we're like, oh, where should I fit exercise into my day? Like, how am I going to do this? So the beautiful thing about OTM, which is opportunities to movement, opportunities to move, and there's a book on that, which is really interesting, is that you can do it anywhere in your day. So you can ask yourself, where in my day would be an opportunity where I could move more, where I wouldn't even have to change my day that much. Maybe it takes a few minutes longer to walk than to take the car, or maybe it takes a half an hour to go to the shop instead of 15 minutes if you go by foot than by car. But finding ways where you can get in some movement, some opportunity, and take some opportunities to move during your day. And that might seem really little, like you're like, oh, now I'm taking the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Like the people who take the elevator, they're up there in maybe 10 or 15 seconds. You're taking the stairs, you need a minute or two. But all of this adds up and your system responds positively to the movement, which you might notice if you're very perceptive, you might notice that quickly if you increase the amount you move, or you might notice it after a few weeks that, oh, now that I'm moving more, I'm more awake. Maybe you need less coffee, or maybe there is some shift that you feel in your body, that there is more energy in your body. So whenever you notice a positive shift from anything, from the sleep or from the nutritional changes or from increasing the amount you move, it's always good to take a moment and to just notice that and be like, oh, there's something going on here. There is a positive shift happening, and to acknowledge that first, that you did that you made that shift, and also that it's happening, and to reinforce it with your attention. So often we give attention to things that we don't like. I'm really encouraging you to give your attention to the positive changes, because you are going to create more momentum by doing that. So also looking at the movement now through those filters, going first, what is already really great about movement? What are victories that you can celebrate? What are things that you can be grateful for, that you implemented, that you started? What are some things that you feel really happy about in regards to the amount of movement and exercise that you're doing in your life, that maybe you've started to do recently, or that you have always done? Just taking a moment to write that down as well, if you feel so inspired. What are some things that are really great that you're proud of regarding your movement and exercise? And really celebrating those small victories, or maybe bigger victories, but celebrating every victory, whatever the size. And then in the next step, getting to the question, what needs work regarding your movement and exercise? What could you improve? So where in your life do you see room for improvement? Maybe that's on the weekend, that you're very sedentary on the weekend. Maybe that's that you're really used to taking the elevator. Just finding some area where you feel like, oh, that's something I'd like to change. Of course, looking at the healthy balance, like making changes that maybe that challenge you, but that are also loving to yourself, where you feel like maybe not over challenging yourself, pushing yourself over the limit. Or if you feel you want to push yourself over the limit, maybe only a little bit, and then taking good care of yourself so that you're stretching the rubber band, but you're not snapping it, so to speak. And then in the third step, also, how specifically can you implement changes or one change in an area that you feel you want to move more, you want to exercise more. Again, make it bite-sized. It's better to have a small step that you actually implement than having a big, great idea that doesn't make it from the paper into your life. So I encourage you to choose something specific and small that you can do and that you can celebrate once you do it. So that was a really practical look at the 3 areas of your life that you can improve to increase your energy. And there is one important thing that I mentioned before, but because it's so relevant, I want to mention it again, and that is this perception of productivity, and especially people who love to work in the evening. And for some people, maybe that works. For some people, maybe it doesn't work so well. But what I would ask you is also to develop the skill of tuning into your body, of when your body needs a break, and to connect with your rhythm, like with your body rhythm, with the state of your body and where your body is at. And for doing that, I would invite you to do a short guided, we can call it meditation or just an awareness exercise of where you are feeling your body right now, just so you can practice the skill of assessing the state of your body, the tension level of your nervous system, the tension level of your muscles, and also how your mind is connected with that, and the relationship of your mind and of your body. So if you feel comfortable where you're sitting, please make yourself, or if you don't feel comfortable, make yourself comfortable. Feel free to change how you're sitting. You can keep your eyes open or you can close them. You can even stand up if you feel like the need to stand up. You don't need to do it sitting down. Whatever you feel is good for you. And just allowing your attention to go to your body as it is here right now in this moment. And just noticing as you tune into your body, your surroundings, where your body is situated right now. Maybe you can feel the floor, where your feet are on the floor, or maybe there is something that you're sitting on, leaning against. Just noticing, what do you have contact with? Where do you feel your body right now in space, in the room that you're in? And then looking at your body, I want to invite you to feel the sensations that your body is giving you right now. So that might be muscular tension, that might be pain, that might be a warmth, relaxation, that can be pleasant or unpleasant, but just noticing what you can feel in your body and not judging it as good or bad. I would just invite you to observe it in the state that it is presenting itself to you, and just be with that. So noticing if there are any gross sensations, like strong sensations, like maybe a muscular ache or maybe a joint that is hurting, or maybe some area of your body that you can feel very strongly. But also looking at more subtle sensations. Maybe that's a sensation of clothes on the skin, and just scanning through your body and getting an awareness of what your body is experiencing right now. And making room for what your body is feeling at this moment. Maybe you can notice your breathing as well, or maybe your heartbeat. Whatever shows up is fine. Just noticing that. And if you feel so inspired, I would invite you to also take a moment to express your appreciation to your body for functioning, serving you. Maybe you want to express that to your feet that are carrying you. Maybe you have certain body parts that you feel really grateful for. Maybe that's your heart that's beating. Maybe it's your brain that's working. Maybe it's your hands that allow you to do things. Just for a moment, tune into the appreciation for your body. Maybe if there is a body part that is giving you some challenges, that is painful, maybe also showing some appreciation to that part. Or how it served you so far and supported your life, is supporting your life. Just making some space for the appreciation of your body and all the systems in your body that are working together. So I would like you now to take a moment and to take a mental snapshot of the state of your body. And if you can, to compare it in your mind to how you felt before you were closing your eyes, before we went internal, and we're going to go a little deeper still, but just for now, just to take this snapshot and see how is the level of tension in your body. Has that changed? How is your body reacting to the attention you're giving it? Maybe there's a relaxation, or maybe your mind has become really active, which we're going to move to next. Just notice for yourself what is going on, just taking a snapshot. And then next, I would invite you to give attention to your mind, just to see what your mind is doing. The quality of your mind. Is your mind very active? Is it moving from one thought to the next? Is it going to the future? Is it going to the past? What is the quality of your mind? Not judging it, not saying this is good, this is bad, just cultivating your awareness for the state of your mind at the moment. And noticing the quality of your mind. Is your mind very energetic? Is your mind more tired, maybe lethargic? Is it moving quickly or slowly? Is it focused in one direction, on one thought, or is it jumping from thought to thought? Just noticing the quality of your mind, without judging it as good or negative, positive or negative. Just noticing what it's doing. And noticing what thoughts are coming up in your mind. Are they connected to each other? Is it around one topic or multiple topics? and just noticing. And then I invite you to put your attention to your emotions, to what you're feeling emotionally. Maybe you can connect to a certain emotion. Maybe there's something present in your body, in your emotional world. Maybe there is nothing present for you right now. Maybe there is an emptiness or a numbness, but maybe there are certain emotions present. Just noticing what is present or what isn't present, noticing the quality of what you can feel. Are there strong emotions or very subtle ones? And just giving some room to your emotional experience at the moment right now. Looking at what is showing up for you. Are your emotions more on the positive side, more on the negative side? Are there pleasurable emotions or painful emotions? Are the emotions shifting? Is it more like one dominant emotion or a combination of emotions? Just noticing the quality. Of your world of emotions at this moment, however that world looks like to you. And then before we finish, I would invite you to again take a snapshot of the state of your body at this moment. So how are you feeling in your body? How do you feel that your body has responded to this attention that you've been giving yourself? What about your levels of tension or relaxation? Just taking a snapshot. And if maybe you're feeling pretty tired, that's also fine. So that's interesting because sometimes we only notice that we're tired when we give our system some time to relax. Yeah. And then I would invite you from this state to make an intention for something that's important to you. Maybe that's some goal that you have, or maybe that's something you're working on, or something that you want to explore in your life. Just making an intention of what you want to do. Maybe that has to do with the goal we established previously with your business. Maybe you want to solidify that intention from this state right now. And I'll give you a minute or so just to focus your mind on that intention and to use that state of relaxation creatively. And then once you're satisfied, once you're done, I invite you to slowly bring yourself up again into a more awake state of mind at your own pace. And then I would invite you for a moment to reflect on what just happened, how your body responded, how you're feeling now compared to before. Yeah. So we've talked about energy being very important for making progress in your business. And then we looked at three very important variables here, which is the movement, the movement, exercise, nutrition, and the sleep. And we just touched on another one, which I think is really important, which is being able to oscillate our energy. So that means that everything always goes in waves, especially in the human body. We have the circadian rhythm. We also have a day rhythm, like the 90-minute cycle, ultradian rhythm. So now that we have taken some time to tune into our bodies and to relax, this can serve as a good reminder that during our day, we can also give ourselves the gift of taking small breaks. And I'm not saying like doing a 30-minute meditation or 15-minute. Maybe that's not appropriate when you're at work during the day. Maybe you don't feel so comfortable in the environment. But maybe that's like going to the toilet and just taking a minute for yourself and breathing and just finding ways that relax your nervous system, that relax your body, and to calm your system down. And that's the reason why I was asking you, how does it feel? Make a snapshot. It's just for you to get acquainted with the different states of tension in your system. And when you can really notice the contrast between those, you can increase your awareness of the importance of shifting the states and also finding for you ways that work best for you to relax. But also, and another thing I mentioned previously, when you look at the pushing mentality and you want to achieve a lot, and then you work in the evenings, and then maybe you do a quick meditation when you come home and you notice, oh, I'm really tired, right? So that can be, and if you often feel very tired, that can also be a sign that, hey, maybe I need to change something about my sleep. Maybe I'm even working too much, right? So that's not something, I'm not saying you're working too much. I'm not saying you're doing this. What I'm saying is, by training your awareness of how your body is responding to what you're doing, you can make better decisions because you have more information, because you have more awareness for how your body is doing, for how your decisions affect how your body is performing. And when you can make better decisions, then in the long term, you're going to have higher productivity. So that's the goal, right? My goal is not to make you less productive. That's not why I'm suggesting the breaks. I'm suggesting the breaks because I'm convinced that if you find the right way to oscillate between states of tension and relaxation, and to dial in the other fundamentals like the sleep, nutrition, and the exercise, that it will increase your productivity. So then I want to touch on a very important topic, and that is what determines how you routinely eat, move, and sleep, and even if you take breaks, and that has to do with your habits. So the question is then, what is a habit? And a habit is simply a behavior that you do, that you have become so accustomed to that it's harder to not do it than to do it. It's something that happens more or less automatically, we can say. I mean, still with a habit, certain things can happen because a habit has a certain trigger that triggers the habit. So if the trigger is absent, suddenly you're on holiday, and it might be a lot harder to stick to your normal routine, right? So some people think that if once you establish a habit, then your life just works and you don't have to do anything anymore. I like to think about it more as if you were riding a horse, or if you're riding a bicycle, like you're getting more and more proficient at stabilizing the bike, but you never have to not stabilize the bike. Even a professional motorcycle driver, he has to stabilize the bike. He just does it really well. So I like to think of it more as the skill, and that's the skill of establishing habits is not just establishing the habit and it's a one and done thing, but you establish the habit and then you have challenges and then you return back to the habit. But you like the motorcycle rider or the horse rider, you maintain the balance and you don't fall, or maybe sometime you fall off, but you get back on the horse, right? And you improve the process of getting back to it and maintaining it in the end. So it's more about zooming out and seeing like, okay, what is my life? How is this going to impact my life in the next 5 or 10 years? And if you miss one day or not, it's not going to have such a big difference, make such a big difference. But what is going to make a difference is that you have the commitment for the long term, that you're like, I'm going to build this habit because this supports, and that's why we talked in the beginning about the goal and the why, because it supports my vision for my life. And this is why I'm committed to establishing the habit and to maintaining the habit. So that's the two parts really to it. So some things I want to quickly mention about habits. If you haven't read so much about habits until now, so you know now already that to be more productive in your business, you need energy. To improve your energy, it's good to pay attention to your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, taking breaks, and how you can actually make that happen consistently is by building habits. So that's what helps you to shift that. Your identity and your habits are connected. If you start to build new habits, that is going to support a new identity. So your current identity and your current habits are connected. That means when you start to establish a new habit, you're changing your identity. The thing is, and that's why I'm harping on the small habits, and that's why there's a book called Tiny Habits and a book called Mini Habits, and a lot of people are talking about small changes when it comes to habits. It's easier to make a small change, and it's more important to start making the change and to start moving in a certain direction than how far you move. It's more about the general direction you're taking in and building momentum. That's why I call it the business momentum masterclass, because it's about starting to build momentum. And what we did before, and where I said, look at how you're moving, look at how you're eating, and choose one small, tiny thing that you can change in your life that is actually doable for you, that doesn't take a huge step to do it, but then you do it. And when you do it, you have a positive experience. You're feeling, wow, I did this, I made this shift, I made this change. And that starts to tip another domino. So it's like a domino reaction. It's like you start one thing, then another thing starts, another thing starts. But the important thing is to get moving, because a lot of people, they listen to information and they say, yes, I will make this huge change. And then maybe they do it for 3 days and they're like, oh my God, this is too much. I can't maintain this, right? So they fall off. But the problem there is that they stop moving in that direction altogether. Whereas if you take the small step, maybe on day 2, the other person is like 50 meters ahead of you. They have like done so much, but then 2 weeks later, they're stagnating, but you're still taking your steps. And now you're not taking one step, but you're taking 2 steps, because the small changes are starting to compound. Because you start to have more energy, that changes the way you think. You start to make other shifts in your life. You're like, wow, I have so much more energy. What else can I improve? And that starts to shift your identity as well. So, but talking about habit change, so the first thing really is that you want to start small. You want to start with a small change. And that small change should be specific. So you want to have a very specific goal, because if your mind does not have a specific thing to do, then usually we don't know what to do. Our brain is like, if you don't give the exact step of what you want to do, it's much less likely that you're going to follow through. And that is for various reasons, but one of them is just that it takes a lot more energy. Like imagine you're saying to yourself, yes, I'm going to do exercise in the morning, but you don't decide what you're going to do. Now you wake up in the morning, you're really tired, you're walking over and you're like, oh, okay, now I should do some exercise. And then you start thinking, oh my God, what exercise am I going to do? And then the process is so long. Whereas if you in the evening, you sit down, or the day before, and you exactly define what you're going to do, and that applies to anything. That also applies to things in business, like, oh, what should I start with? Should I start with my website? Should I start with that? And that creates like an entity that each time you interact with that entity, it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And you open this box and you don't know where you want to go. And I mean, sometimes that might be part of a process of finding a solution. But if we're talking in the context of establishing a new habit, a new behavior, you need to be specific. You need to invest that time, figure it out. What will it be? What kind of exercise? What is the next step? And then commit to that one. So in that case, you get up in the morning, you know, okay, I'm going to get up in the morning, going to go outside for a small walk, even that. You're going to do that. So when you wake up, you already know what you're going to do, and it's much easier. It reduces the friction. Another way you can reduce friction is you can prepare certain things. So I have one client, he prepared his gear for going out. He put it in a place where you can see it, because he said, when I see it, that reminds me. So that serves two functions. One, when he gets up in the morning, he wants to do exercise, he doesn't have to get it out of the cupboard or you know, get those clothes, they're already there. It reduces the friction, it makes it easier. But the second thing, which is really important for habits, is having a trigger. So a trigger is what reminds you to do the behavior. A trigger can be a reminder on your phone. A trigger can be a physical object that you have somewhere, you know, like maybe that's even for a trigger for a habit, might even be if you have a bottle and you put it, always have a bottle and you always have it where you're working. So you see the bottle, and if you feel a slight thirst, you see the bottle, you can drink. So that will increase the amount you drink, very likely. Or if you have your exercise clothes ready the day before, and in the morning you go to the toilet and you see them, you're like, oh, right, yes, I have to I want to exercise this morning. I'm going to do this. So having a trigger, but the trigger can also be an existing behavior or routine that you have. So that's a very easy way to establish a new habit. And let's say you want to establish or improve your movement, like you want to move more throughout your day. That might be to take the stairs instead of the elevator. So each time you have a trigger, the trigger is you see an elevator. And the new behavior is you don't take the elevator, you take the stairs. So that's one way of using an existing trigger that you're encountering throughout your day, but you're replacing the behavior with a new one that serves you better. And the third thing or another thing that is really important is to celebrate. Like we said before, when you celebrate the achievement of a small step, you are reinforcing the new identity and the new behavior. By celebrating, you are reinforcing the new behavior, and you're making it more likely that in the future, you're going to continue with the habit, with the new behavior, because you're making yourself feel good about it. So BJ Fogg it's the guy who wrote Tiny Habits, who's a behavioral scientist, and he talks about celebrations. So he calls it celebrations. What I like to do is I just like to tap my shoulder and I go like, woo, every time when I go for a run and I finish, I just do that because it makes me feel good. And I'm reinforcing that, yes, I did it. I did what I set out to do. I've achieved that. And that makes me feel good. Another small thing that you can do is if you create a checklist, like you say, okay, I want to commit to a certain small action. Maybe that's in the area of nutrition. Maybe that's in the area of movement or of your sleep. You're going to create a matrix, or you can use an existing calendar, and you just make an X every time you do it. And making the X itself is a form of celebration. So you could make the X and you could go like, yes, well done. And you could pat yourself on the shoulder, or maybe just making the X and smiling is enough for you. But doing something so that you signal to yourself, well done, this is a positive change. I want to do this. I did this. Well done. And that will reinforce the behavior change. So that is really the overview of how you can change that. Some things that I have found out, both working with myself and working with people on behavior changes, one big thing that comes up is accountability. So if you have some form of accountability, a person that holds you accountable, that says, hey, have you done this? Then it will make it more likely that you actually follow through. And another thing So that's the first thing. And that's kind of a thing that can also stop you from taking the action, is if you don't have anybody that you're accountable to, it will decrease your odds of succeeding versus actually having that accountability. So that's good for you to find somebody that you can stay accountable to, that doesn't have to take up so much time, that can even be once a week you report to somebody, or if you make the commitment to exercise more, you tell it to a person maybe that is close to you, a friend of yours, and you just commit to them and you update them on how you're doing, how that is progressing for you. And the second one is just when you start to make a behavior change, some patterns might come up for you. And for some people that can be challenging, that they have had patterns in the past, they have tried to change things, and then they need a new perspective on, okay, how can I fix this? Why is this certain thing not working as expected? And you can start to shift those things. So me realizing that this is a very important component for habit change, I have created a group program which is called My Keystone Habit. And that is a 3-month group program where I help you to establish, and I call it the keystone habit, because I have found, and I've tried a lot of morning routines and different ways to start my day, different ways to gain momentum. And I found this one to be extremely powerful in shifting my state. So that's a very simple and quick routine that is with conditioning your body, with breathing, with walking and creating momentum, that makes it very easy to establish an exercise habit in connection with that. Because if you are already having and generating momentum, that will lead to more momentum down the line. Like I said, with the small goals, you set a small goal, a small step, a small habit, and that will lead to the next step, to the next change in the same direction. So that is why I'm big. And the goal of that 3-month program is to establish your exercise habit. The foundation of the whole habit course is the keystone habit. That is a way to shift your psychology and your physiology via breathing and gratitude and visualization, which can be done very quickly in 15 minutes. And I've gotten great responses from the people in my program. I have some very inspiring people in my program. Like when I see them and how they're working on these things and shifting their life, I'm very impressed and honored that I'm able to support them in their own, realizing their own vision. And so the program is a 3-month program. The goal is to establish your exercise habit, and it is a group program. So I was talking about the accountability. I have found that accountability is huge. If you have somebody that you can say, hey, I'm going to do this, please check in with me, that will help you a lot. Having somebody that is on your side that you can share with what challenges come up, that will also help you a lot. So in that program, you're going to get a buddy that is a second person that is on the same journey as you, that wants to establish that exercise habit. Maybe they're in it for business reasons, maybe they're in it for health reasons, maybe they want to show up better for their family, but you and them, you're united in wanting to improve your life, wanting to create more momentum, more energy, more health in your life via establishing a powerful habit that helps you to move more, to have more exercise and more energy in your life. And the second thing is, during the 3 months, I do 2 group coaching calls a week. Those are 90-minute calls where we go on a Zoom call and you bring your challenges, maybe the patterns that have held you back in the past, where you were like, oh, I wanted to establish this habit, but I was really struggling to get it going because this showed up, because this emotion. And some people, they say, oh, my parents, they never exercised. I have never come from a place of that. That was never normal for me. So that the group aspect gives you the opportunity to see other people who might have been in the same situation, and they're starting to shift. They're now starting to exercise. And you hear from them, hey, I started exercising. I'm feeling so much more energized. And that really inspires you. And at the same time, the group coaching aspect is, I will help you to shift your perspective, and I will give you the tools to overcome your emotional blocks and also things that where you have blind spots that you just can't see, where having the perspective of somebody from the outside will help you to actually shift those things and to start creating new behaviors. So with the goal of those new behaviors fueling your new identity that will help you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So as part of this webinar, I'm going to, usually I offer my program at $797. For this webinar, I will be offering my program for $597. That is an offer. I will be putting the link also where I'm posting this, so you can click on the link, and that is an offer that is valid for 48 hours, and then the price goes up again to $797. So if you feel that you want to do this, that you want to go on this journey, you want to have a body, you want to commit to those 3 months, then feel free to sign up via the link that I provided. If you have some questions, if you want to ask me certain things, then you can also find a link on the website, on the page where you can register, where you can buy. You also find a link where you can contact me and talk to me and have a conversation with me, figuring out what is the best fit for you, how I can help you to achieve your goals. I would be very excited if you want to join. I have an amazing group right now with some really cool people, and I'm looking forward to having more amazing, inspired people in that group. No matter where you're at, maybe you're really challenged with that area of your life, with the whole health and exercise. Maybe you're pretty mobile, doing a lot of exercise already, but you want to improve that, you want to refine certain aspects, or maybe you're really excited about the habit aspect, about the morning routine aspect. All of those there's a lot of space in the group for you and for your unique challenges, and I will support you in achieving your goals and your vision. And I look forward to having you in the group. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and sign up via the link that I have provided. My website is mykeystonehabit.com, and you will find a link below the website. Just click on that link and you will see there the price for $597, valid for 48 hours. I look forward to welcoming you to my group. Take care.